Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. It is a mailbag. We answer your questions live as they come in on our Wednesday show. We begin with RC Plane Builder 2. He's on his second account here. Should my Falcons trade for Devin White or stay put and save their draft picks? I'd be a little surprised for an in-division trade. I kind of want to see what Troy Anderson can do this upcoming year. I'm sure we'll have plenty of Devin White questions on today's show. I'm not out on Mykal Walker yet either. Devin White's fairly expensive, $11 million, almost 12 this year, and I think he's among the more overrated players in the NFL. So I'm not, if I were the Falcons, I would not be throwing money and assets at Devin White right now. True or lore, should the Niners draft that's Alabama offensive tackle Tyler Steen on day 2 of the draft? I've got Steen graded, let me double check here, in the fourth-ish round, but you're drafting late third round. Linemen tend to go earlier, so it's a little early for me, but not that much. And I think with his athletic ability, he'd actually be a really good fit in the 49ers offense. So I'd be fine with that pick, yeah. Cameron Briglin, where do you think Hopkins will be traded? I think the Bills are likely to land Hopkins. It's a great question. The lack of Hopkins buzz, we're a couple days basically away. We're in days now, not weeks or months anymore, from the NFL draft. And there's been no real Hopkins deal getting close. It's no, it's just been really quiet. There's a lot of buzz that the Cardinals aren't getting good offers. Bills would be a great fit. Sorry, Gabe Davis, and kind of give Hopkins the run there. I think between the age, the contract, the recent missed time, the trade cost, what Brandon Cooks went for example, too. I think that has led to some differences of opinion between NFL teams and where the Cardinals value Hopkins. So I'd say draft night, I wouldn't be shocked if it gets moved, but pretty quiet so far. From Riz Machine, okay. Saquon Barkley trade since he didn't sign the tag yet. Maybe Henry, too. I assume you mean Derrick Henry. Of course, he's not franchise tag, but I think you're talking back trades in general, so that's fine. I wouldn't read too much into Saquon Barkley not signing the tag. That's a leverage tool designed to get a new deal. That's what that is. So I wouldn't read too much into it. As for Derrick Henry, I know there's been a lot of taken out of context of Bill Barnwell briefly mentioned, hey, maybe Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook get traded or cut. It wasn't a report, and that's been spun into this team could trade for Derrick Henry. It's not really what was happening there. There was a quickly disputed report saying they were shopping Henry. I don't think that was the case either. I don't think either guy goes anywhere. If someone does get moved, maybe Tennessee embraces a rebuild mid-draft and just ships out a bunch of contracts they don't want anymore. But of the two, I guess it's Henry. I don't think either guy gets moved there. So, of the two questions, great job building on the fly there, Sam. Who's more likely to be moved? DH for Derrick Henry, SB for Saquon Barkley. Go ahead and sound off for us in the comments section at the pinned comment of today's show. If an ad break comes here on YouTube, ignore it. Go vote at the pinned comment instead. XD Gamer 22. Who is the best corner in the draft? My top 3 guys have all got first-round grades for me. In reverse order, I've got Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, those two are very close for me, and Devin Witherspoon is my number 1 corner this year. And I've been waffling back and forth on Gonzalez and Porter because I'm allowed to because I don't have to publish anything for another couple weeks. So, but Devin Witherspoon for me is my number 1 corner. From Toon, what are the Panthers going to do at wide receiver to help their new quarterback? So they've started that process already. They've brought in DJ Chark. They've brought in Adam Thielen. They've retained Laviska Shenault, Terrace Marshall. I think they could easily draft somebody. I would not be shocked if they kind of ride with the veterans for now and keep their eyes out next year in the future for some younger options at wide receiver. Robert Bruce, hi Tom, Jack, everyone at Chat Sports. And Sam, okay, Sam, we'll give you some love there. What will the Patriots do with the 14th pick? They are definitely in need of offensive line help. Probably do something weird that we weren't anticipating because that's just what Bill Belichick likes to do. I don't think that they're going to go receiver. If a properly fitting defensive piece is there, if someone slides, they could do that. I would say offensive line is a real candidate. Don't rule out Bijan Robinson. Bill does like to run the football these days. From Gary Sanderson, draft picks you would hate in round 1 and round 2, and picks that were like the Lamb Diggs picks, basically what you would love in round 1, round 2. If you want to go with like the, wow, I can't believe that guy fell to you for the Cowboys, I think you're looking at like Joey Porter Jr. magically slides into round 1. Probably not. Round 2, it's like Steve Avila, Darnell Washington, guys you had maybe round 1 backup plan picks there. They slide to round 2. Picks I would hate, I think the issue you run into is like if your top 20-ish guys are gone, the guy you have on your board at like 25 to like 55 is super similar. And there might be some third-round grades that sneak into round 1 for me that the NFL is just higher on. So I kind of don't want to go with one of the defensive tackles in round 1. That just kind of scares me a bit. Like, Brian Brzee would terrify me. Like, he's got great upside, but he's not good yet. Like, I think those riskier picks kind of scare me a little bit there. From Al, I saw Chris Sims. Al, doesn't think Will Anderson is a top passer. Nice try, Al. Bonnegue? Is that how you pronounce it, Sam? Is that what it is? Yeah, okay. Nice try, Al. Saw Chris Sims doesn't think Will Anderson top passer. Your thoughts? So I did see the clip you were referring to. Now, I listened to the entire thing, but I think the clip kind of summed it up where Chris Sims had Will Anderson as his 5th best edge rusher. Behind, no particular order, it was Lucas Van Ness, Nolan Smith, I think Will McDonald, and Tyree Wilson in some order there. And his statement was, I would bet a lot of money that Will Anderson does not go before those guys because it's very obvious to me that Will Anderson is not that good. So, like, it was just like straight up arrogance from Chris Sims of like, it's not that I am wrong, it's that I am so right, it's obvious to everybody. Now, I think deep down, Chris Sims is just mad that Major Applewhite was better than him. That's just my opinion. And this is the same guy that had Javian Hawkins as his third back a couple years ago. And Hawkins is in the CFL right now. That's where he's at. So, frankly, I think Sims is wrong. And I think the way that was framed was just really arrogant and, frankly, a little bit ridiculous there. So, who will draft Will Anderson? Sound off for us in the comment section. He ain't getting past number 6. I'd be pretty shocked by that one. Go ahead and vote in the comment section. Harrison Sanchez, who will the Chargers draft at number 21? I don't know. Receiver? How about speed at receiver? Maybe dark horse tight end pick? I don't think they'd go Bijan Robinson. LA, I've always had a tough time figuring out what they want to do this year. I wouldn't mind another front 4 piece, but they're in a weird spot. They could be a surprise. Wow, they took Elijah Cansey pick, but we'll see. It's a great question, Harrison, because I don't have a great answer for you. Richard Ikoko, Bears fan number 1. I think the Bears. You think the Bears will trade down from 9? What teams would it be? Depends on how the board shakes out. If there's a quarterback there, maybe a team like Tennessee or the Bucs come flying up the board or whoever. Maybe the Bears have a different view of this year's offensive line class, and they're willing to move down and still get that guy. I think there's a real chance they trade down. I think the Bears would like to trade down to acquire assets because the guy at 9 versus the guy at, let's just say, 13, 14 isn't that different. But it does require a team wanting to move up. The Bears got a haul from Carolina. They won't get that same haul moving further down in round 1. Carter Reimer, would Miami be smart to trade for Derrick Henry? Yes and no. He's a good football player, right? I think Miami would be smarter to fix the offensive line. Still needs some help. And we saw it this past year for Tennessee. The O-line wasn't nearly as good, and neither was Derrick Henry. And I do get worried about trading for, let's say it's a third or whatever. I don't know what the trade value is. It's weird. A third for Derrick Henry, but you got to pay him big money, and your O-line is still a bit of an issue. And I get there's no third, but whatever. Miami sends third-round pick value. Let's put it that way, or fourth-round pick value if we want to go there. Like in a bubble, it makes sense, but from a roster management perspective, I'm not so sure that it does. But in the words of Will Scott, he's a Dolphin. Now, if you want to join future mailbags, well, you got to be subscribed. Otherwise, you're not going to know when we're live, having fun here on NFL Daily. We're live again on Monday, by the way. Hit that sub button for free NFL videos, including our live shows right here at Chat Sports. Billy Homan, who should the Bears pick in the 3rd round? You're making it tough on me, my friend. you're just kind of looking at a couple different areas of potential need and going, who's the best player on the board? Maybe that's a running back if you're a bit scared about Javonte Williams. Maybe you just want to go more defensive help. Maybe there's an offensive lineman or a playmaker who slid down to you. Third round, it's very tough to ID players because weird stuff happens come NFL draft time. But I think you build out your board, hope someone slides to you. Wouldn't mind a trade down. Get some more assets. Isaac Y, is the Cowboys' free agency good so far? If we include trades, which I think we should, it's the player acquisition time frame. This is the best Cowboys offseason in a decade. Now, that is a low bar to clear. It's a very low bar. But getting guys like Cooks and Gilmore on the cheap were fantastic moves by Dallas. From B, what the hell? I like how he edited himself there. It took me a second. Are the Raiders doing? How likely for them to trade back to, say, the Jets / the Commanders? If I were the Raiders, I would not trade down. Because I suspect that quarterbacks will go early, Anderson, Carter go early, and the Raiders could have their pick of any corner this year. Or like the second best corner. And if you trade it back to Jets Commanders range, that guy's probably not going to be there. So trading down in general, I always like, but given the defensive needs, I would stay at 7 and take one of those impact defensive pieces because it'll kind of fall off quickly not long after Vegas picks. From Big Stick, why do you hate Hendon Hooker? First off, is this Petey's burner account? That's our Tennessee fan. He and I disagree on Hendon Hooker. But it's funny because we actually don't disagree that much on Hendon Hooker, and I do not hate Hendon Hooker. I like the player. He is easily my 5th quarterback prospect this year, and you could talk me into saying, if you go, I would rather take Hooker than Will Levis, I would agree with you. Hooker is way better right now. Heck, he's probably a better player right now than Anthony Richardson, but we're not talking about right now. We're talking about projecting out for NFL success, and despite pretty good arm strength, good mobility, very accurate, great deep ball success, the concerns with Hendon Hooker are that you have a 25, will be 26 as a rookie later on in that first season, Euro quarterback, who's like we're talking Justin Herbert age here. He's older than Herbert, who is probably going to need a redshirt year, not because of the knee, which is a red flag in and of itself, but he played an offense that isn't a real NFL offense. It's half field reads, it's screens, it's go balls. There's a massive learning curve coming for Hendon Hooker, and we're talking about, okay, if you want your first round pick is my issue. It's not that he's not a good player. I'd love him in the 3rd round. Let's ride. But you want your first round pick to be there for 10 years. He's finishing up his first contract, and he's 30. Meanwhile, Anthony Richardson, as an example, or Herbert, maybe better, is going to finish up his first contract and be the same age Hooker is right now. That is a very big deal. So I think he can be a low-end starter. I don't see this massively peak high ceiling that I think some do. I think he's a very good prospect. I don't hate him. I'm just not touching him in the first round, although I wouldn't really draft Will Levis in the first round either. He's not Brandon Whedon, for at least what it's worth, although that's also a low bar to clear. Where would you rank Hendon, whose real name is Allen, by the way, Hooker among quarterback prospects? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd be surprised if that was lower there. Sound off in the comments section. Logan Carruthers, see the Niners drafting 2 edge rushers. If so, who do you see him taking? Maybe? The 49ers have a bunch of 3rd-round picks, and they got a bunch of day 3 picks there. So taking one in the 3rd, one in the 7th, perfectly reasonable. But again, when we're in the 3rd round, we're trying to identify this is the guy we want. You're playing a very, very dangerous game on that front. From Saquon Barkley, would you draft Paris Johnson, Tyree Wilson, or Peter Skoronski at number 9 for the Bears? If you are okay with the length issues, I'll go Peter Skoronski. If you're okay moving Paris Johnson to right tackle, I'll take him. Then Tyree Wilson. But any of those 3 guys I think would be quality picks for Chicago. From Andy, Bills Mafia, do you play any drinking games on draft night? This is Super Chat. Thank you, Andy. And yes, we will be doing some games, some drinking games as well, all throughout the NFL draft and day 1, 2, and 3. So make sure you're tuning in, Andy. We'll have some fun. Gary Sanderson. Tom, what is your worst draft take? I was way too low on Josh Allen. Way too low. I also would say that we learned from it. I was too high on Josh Rosen. That's a big reason why I value mobility so much these days. I think that's one of the big things I learned, and traits, of course, too. When I tend to miss, it's like I know this guy has the traits, but he's not good right now. So how high can I invest in that? That's the gamble there. I also loved Tease Tabor, and he was not good, and that one broke my heart. That was probably one of the big misses as well. Although I was very high on Lamar Jackson, which was a big win for me.